I request that we all stand and observe a moment of silence in his honor. May his soul rest in eternal peace.
My sincere condolences to the family, friends, relatives, the people of Ulaya, and indeed the entire country on the demise of the retired third president of the Republic of Kenya, His Excellency Emilio Mwai Kibaki.
Mimi binafsi pamoja na jamii yangu na wananchi wote kutoka eneo langu bunge la Taveta na Taita Taveta kwa ujumla, tunatoa risala zetu za rambirambi kwa jamii ya mwenda zake hayati rais wetu mpendwa watatu wa Jamhuri ya Kenya, Mheshimiwa Mwai Kibaki.
Let me start by on my own behalf, on behalf of the great people of Kibaki, on behalf of my family, and let me also extend to another constituency that we shared with him, the golfing fraternity. On their behalf, I would like to pass our deepfelt condolences to the family, his friends, the people of Ulaya, the people of Nyeri, then the people of Kenya.
On behalf of the people of Uasin Gishu, whom I represent in this Senate, on behalf of my own family, most of whom knew Kibaki for many years, and on behalf of my own self, I would like to pass my most sincere condolences to the family of His Excellency, the departed President, Mwai Kibaki.
Well, on behalf of my family, on my own behalf, on the people of West Pokot County, I wish to pass my sincere condolences to the family, friends, the President of the Republic of Kenya, the nation, and the friends of Mwai Kibaki, the late Mwai Kibaki, our third president, who has passed on.
Between the late Kibaki and I, we started off as friends, and we remained as friends up to now, to his passing. And it's through that friendship and him, being, for all intents and purposes, I can only refer him to as my father by virtue of the age.
Well, first of all, I knew Mwai Kibaki way before I became a member of parliament. I admired him when he was he was a vice president, and later as a leader of opposition, I worked with him. So I've had the opportunity to be in parliament with him, in the 6th parliament, and then the 8th parliament, the 9th parliament, and I think then when he was president, for the 2 terms, he became more of an acquaintance, and somehow, for some reason, he seemed to give me special attention when I needed to. And it so happened that we have a common history with Makerere University. He went to Makerere way before I was born. I went to Makerere much later. But his story is trending in Makerere up to today as the first African to have gotten a first class in economics or in a degree in first class.
Finally, may I, with utmost humility, invite Your Excellency, the President of the Republic of Kenya and Commander-in-Chief of the Defense Forces, to address this House.
One time when he became president in 2003, and I was in the opposition ranks this time, my house caught fire and burnt down the house. It was a very difficult time for me. And Mwai Kibaki as president, that's when I knew he cared about me. As president, sent me a check from State House to help me with recovering and being able to, because we lost everything in that fire. So I started knowing that for Mwai Kibaki as a president to support a member of the opposition, he must still have a good relationship with me.
Nakumbuka kuna mtaro wa maji ambao alikuwa ya kunyunyizia mashamba. ulikuwa wakati wa koloni na ukaja baadaye ukaharibika, ukawa hauwezi kutumika. Lakini wakati nilivyomwelezea, nakumbuka akiwaambia akina waziri Martha, sasa hiyo akiwa anasimamia, Martha Karua akiwa akisimamia masuala ya maji, akiwaambia kuhakikisheni kwa mtaro huo uanze kufanya kazi vile inavyostahili. Kama maji hapo, wacha yafikie wakulima. Na hiyo alifurahia sana, kwa sababu nilivyosema maji haya yatakwenda kulisha watu zaidi ya watu 5,000. Alifurahia sana.
Come 2002, friendship had grown to a point now where it said, we know we are getting into government. And we're saying, I hope you get the right people in government. Say, who are the right people? Do you consider yourself part of those right people or not? Like, no, as we want to help you from the professionals time. And he said, no, there's nothing like professionals. Come to government, let's work together. And he encouraged me. April of 2002. The elections is in December. I've never campaigned. And then he tells me, go to Kibaki this Easter holiday, look at who are the people vying. And when you come back, we will see whether there's a person there we can support. And if there's none, we will take a decision. So I go there and look around and say, who are the people who are vying? And it's like, people are like, So I come back and report progress and say, did you see yourself? Yeah? When you're looking at people, are you part of the people of Kibaki? Why can't you buy? And within 2 weeks of that, I had already made up my mind and I was already buying. Yeah? And started that journey. And culminated in my winning the election, being appointed to cabinet. And for the next 10 years, I served every day with him for those 10 years. And following his footsteps, following his advice.
I am pleased to join you for the special sitting of Parliament. The life of the intense Parliament is about to come to an end, and as we look back at the last 5 years, there is plenty to be grateful for.
For me, I have not met a president who trusts his ministers like Kibaki did.
Mheshimiwa Rais Kibaki aliamini mawaziri wake. Alitupatia nafasi na fursa ya kufanya uamuzi. Na pale popote ulikuwa unakwama, ukimwambia kwa mimi nimekwama, naomba usaidizi hapa, atajitolea, bora tu umwelezee sababu nzuri zinazostahili kuwa kazi kwenye serikali yake ifanywe hivyo.
So in terms of working with him in cabinet, I can say he was very supportive. He gave you a job to do. He didn't follow you up to ask you, we had the hotlines. He never picked those hotlines to call, okay, because of when I was in lands is sensitive, and treasury is also lots of consultation. So we would discuss. By the time I went to trade, I could count the number of phone calls he ever made. Yeah. By the time I went to transport, again, you could count the number of phone calls. But so it was up to us to contact him and say, I would like to come and sort out something. But not for him to call us and say, can you do ABCD? He wasn't a micromanager. Yeah? And I think that's the beauty, and I would like to see most of the leaders in that direction.
Well, I can say for sure that President Kibaki remains true to his style of leadership. Even when, under the former constitution, he assumed the leadership of this country, he hardly ever interfered with what happened in Parliament.
My experience with the president was that he's somebody who would give you an assignment and trust you. He just gave me the assignment, told me to go ahead. So I went out, started working on the laws, went back to him. He was very, Kibaki is a very kind-hearted person. He was a very kind-hearted person, and he would just listen, a very keen listener.
What I remember, and this is very interesting, is one time when we had the media bill, we wanted to create the media council. The media was so mad at me. There was demonstrations everywhere in the city, and there was shouting, you know, Pogisha must go, and so on and so on. I remember that time being one of the toughest times for me, because I didn't know if the president would sign this law, this bill into law, because there was so much pressure for him not to sign. But it was important for that time to have a media council, to have regulations, to be able to say to people, for example, when you're doing live coverage from a scene where there has been a killing of people and so on, it is not good. And the media was just sending them raw, and we needed to tell them that put a delay mechanism so that you don't, it's not live from the scene, and so on, and so on. That was the essence of the bill, but it was so, they were so opposed to it. So on the day at the end of the year when the president wanted to assent to it or not, he invited me and my peers. In fact, I was in Kacheliba, and he sent for me. He sent an aircraft to pick me from there all the way to Mombasa. And all he wanted was, can you explain to me and convince me that this bill is right? This bill is not, we're not breaking any law, we are not, it's not unconstitutional, and so on. So we had our people there, staff, we convinced him that this law was good at the time. And so he said, fine. At the end of about 3 hours of listening and discussing, he said, fine, I've got you, you may go back, let me make the decision. And at that time, I knew it could go either way. At the end, he did sign. And he took responsibility. The blame now shifted from me to the president. He was able to take the responsibility and explain what was needed. That is a task for which I will not forget the President Kibaki at the time. There are many other issues.
The most interesting experience at that time was the selection of the universities. So during the selection, I went through the list of all university colleges. Initially, we had 10. I went with 10, and he was very excited about it. He was very happy. He told me he went through the list, and they were spread through the nation, and that really made him happy. And I told him there were about 5 others that were on the edge. He said, go and bring those 5, then we see whether they can qualify. So I went back. I had a very good team in the ministry. I had consultations with the chairman of council all over the country, and we were able to come up. The patience of the man, Mwai Kibaki, is what touched my heart, because he was extremely patient and he was guiding me all through. We discussed every step of what I was going to do. But the last steps was to go and issue the charters. So we prepared the charters for each and every university. We ended up with 15 new universities. And it was amazing that he was ready to travel to every corner of the country. So we traveled through the country. We started with Meru. We moved, we went to Kisii University, we went to Narok University, and he was ready to go there personally. In fact, the best part was when we were in the coast. In the coast, we decided to give 2 universities in 2 days. In Kilifi, he launched the Pwani University College, and the next day we went to Mombasa to launch the Mombasa Technical University. Everybody would have thought that Kibaki was getting tired and whatever, but he really pushed, and he said, I must make sure that I do this. The most interesting bit about that one was that at that time there was this talk, and the governor the current governor of Kilifi made a beautiful speech about the term Pwani sio Kenya. And the president came out and he said, yes, now Pwani in Kenya, 2 universities in 2 days. And there was excitement. Everybody was so excited about what we did. We went to Kisii, and the same story. The new university was born in Kisii. New university was born in Karatina. It was really a very, very good experience that I had with him. So mine was nominally on the opening of the new universities, because it started from day one when I went to from week 1, and it actually went to the end when he was winding up. We had to do 7 universities we couldn't reach before he finished his term. So we had to do a joint release of charters in KICC for the last one. So that really marked my time with him. It was all about the issuing of the new charters of universities, and I feel really, really honored that I was able to co-sign the charters of the university with the late Mwai Kibaki.
2002, even by the time we're talking of in 2004 or 5, you started Safaricom had just under 1 million subscribers. And everyone was like saying, to no go far. We were talking of getting a 3rd mobile operator. And even some of my colleagues at that point had said, yes, the only way to save Safaricom is by selling another 10% of the shares, or 11% to Vodafone, so they could own 51% and then be out of government control. And even a price had been negotiated of $100 million. And I remember when we discussed that thing, I said, this doesn't look good. It doesn't look fun, fair to the Kenyan people. And I convinced, our discussions, and the president said, I was Minister for Finance then. I was not even finance. So I'm actually talking from an accounting background and saying, I think this thing is not a fair deal. It's not a proper, we're not getting value for money here, especially with the control we are going to see. And President Kibaki allowed me we stopped that discussion, and we went further to look for solution. Then I became Minister for Finance. And in the event, to cut a long story short, by the time we settled on that the quickest way was going to be the IPO, from selling 25% of Safaricom to the Wananchi, we ended up scooping 51 billion shillings. Had we gone the route of the 11% to Vodafone, to give them the 11%, it would have translated, based on the same amount that we received at the 25%, to about 14 billion. So because of his listening to some of us who said, no, let's not go this route, let's go this other route, we ended up with 37 billion. And he wrote me a very nice commendation letter. The only one, I've never seen something from a president. He wrote one to me and one to Esther Koinet. She was the investment secretary. Basically commending us for what we did on Safaricom. And that's the last privatization transaction.
Baada ya 2007, nakumbuka kuwa tulikuwa na kasheshe sana hapa nchini. Vita vya ndani kwa ndani, sisi wenyewe kwa wenyewe baada ya uchaguzi wa 2007. Na wakati huo nilipopatiwa kazi ya kuwa kwenye wizara, kusimamia wizara ya mipango maalum, Mheshimiwa Rais Kibaki alikuwa ndio nguzo kubwa kwa kazi ile ambayo tulifanya. Manake mara moja alikuwa, baada ya hiyo fujo yote, alihakikisha kuwa makatibu wakuu wa wizara mbalimbali walikuwa wanakutana chini ya wenyekiti wa katibu wa mipango maalum. Na baada ya hapo, mimi nilipopatiwa hiyo kazi, kuchukua tu hivi tayari nilikuta kazi inaendelea. Na nikaelezewa Mheshimiwa Rais anataka kazi ya kufanya. Nilielezewa na mkuu anayesimamia masuala ya umma. Wakati huo alikuwa ni ambassador na wakati huo lolote lile lilikuwa linatendeka, kama kulikuwa na tatizo lolote, Mheshimiwa Rais alinifungulia milango na akaniambia kuwa unijulishe ili usikwame kwa chochote kile. Na kusema kweli kazi ilifanyika. Mpaka kwa Umoja wa Mataifa tuliheshimika sana kama nchi kwa kazi nzuri ile ambayo ilikuwa imefanyika. Na wakati wowote nilikuwa nikiomba kumuona ili niweze kumuelezea yale ambayo yanayotukabili na yale yanayojiri, na pia kumuelezea yale tumeshafanya ndio ajue tutaendelea vipi, ili nikimuelezea yale ninayoona tutayafanya pale mbele anipatie ruhusa. Basi Mheshimiwa Rais Kibaki alikuwa mwepesi sana wa kukubali kuwa tuonane tuweze kuyazungumzia. So mara kwa mara aliweka mikutano kule State House, ama aliweka kwenye ofisi yake hapa Harambee House, na tulikuwa tunaweza kukutana na kuongea masuala yale. Na si tu hiyo, wakati huo huo tulikabiliwa na janga kubwa la ukame. Kwa muda wa miaka 2 kulikuwa hakuna mvua hapa nchini. Lakini vile vile mipango yote tuliyopanga tulikuwa tukimwambia, mimi na timu yangu, haswa katibu wangu na naibu wangu wa waziri, tulikuwa tukimpatia hiyo habari mara moja, anasema kuwa tusaidike. Manake wakati wa ukame wananchi wasije wakafa na njaa, aliweza kuhakikisha kuwa japokuwa njaa ile iliadhiri watu wengi, alihakikisha kuwa hakuna mtu alipoteza maisha, na aliniwezesha.
I thought that the President Kibaki was old school, okay? But as a Minister for Information, he pushed technology so hard on us that I was wondering now, where did he get this? But for him, he wanted something to change in this country. And when he was told by my predecessor that the country needed something called broadband, we needed high-speed internet for us to leapfrog to the next level. And so we needed to bring the undersea cable to connect to the rest of the world, so that we can have those speeds and that can make our internet cheaper, faster, and connected to the rest of the world. And all he needed was, how does that happen? How much is it going to cost? Is it value to the country? And they have explained that to him, and he said, fine, how much is it going to cost? And he put down the money for us to pay the manufacture of the cable, the fiber optic cables, undersea, 5,000 kilometers to be laid on the Indian Ocean, so that we have that connectivity in Kenya. And it will be the first one on the east coast of Africa, the African continent. And he was the first one to do that. Immediately after the cable came in, landed in Mombasa, we were busy now connecting to the rest of the country. And see what we are today. Kenya is sitting on the front row in terms of internet connectivity. And so you can see today a person in the most rural area in Kenya will be on social media. Will be able to have YouTube, have all these things. Would not have happened if President Kibaki had not committed himself and the government of Kenya. All the other governments around did not do that. They waited until we had ours, and then we connected to theirs. They connected to ours here as government. So we have a president whom you would think was old school, but was pushing technology. And in that ministry, we were pushing every new technology, including supporting, for example, M-Pesa.
I am the one who launched M-Pesa on 17th of March 2007, long before Governor Dungu came into the scene. I'm the one who appointed Dungu. And The reason, the whole issue was that, yes, Safaricom had tried to go to the CCK as it was then, no way. Central Bank was saying we cannot regulate you, blah, blah, blah. And when they came to me and explained their story, and I said, what is the big issue here? Oh yeah, you know, this money could be used for money laundering, blah, blah, blah. What's the limit do we have? What limit do we have on the Forex bureaus? How much can you transact in a day? And I was told it is $500. So I said, okay, $500 converted at those rates, it was 70 shillings, the shilling, 35,000. So we put the limit for Safaricom, for M-Pesa, at 35. You may have, you know, I think it was changed just the other day. But the genesis of 35,000 was 500 per day, which was the same thing as you could transact on the Forex bureaus. And with that, I said, you know, you guys, unless you have any reason, I'm going to allow M-Pesa to run. And I launched it on the 17th of March.
M-Pesa in Safaricom, because it was such a controversial thing. How do you regulate that kind of thing? And the central bank governor that time decided then to agree that it can regulate that they can regulate that, and that the president accepted that we're going to do M-Pesa, to grow M-Pesa. Other countries were afraid of M-Pesa, mobile money. Mobile money was not something that was easy to accept. But here we were able to say we now have the technology enough to do mobile money, but also in the back support of it, it was possible for us to support it with technology, so that there will not be any risk to customers and the citizens of this country. So I can give you examples on and on and on about how M-Pesa became a world sensation after that. And we got a lot of awards, international awards, because of M-Pesa. So this is a bit of what, you know, Kibaki can be remembered for.
When I first joined Parliament as a Kanu Member of Parliament, but he was the leader of official opposition at that time. But because I considered him such a mentor, the first office that I visited, even when I came to Parliament, was the office of the leader of official opposition, the Honorable Kibaki, and he welcomed me. And we had a cup of tea and a few jokes here and there. Now that he was, at that time, the leader of official opposition. But he encouraged me to read first, before contributing to any debates on the floor of the House, because in his opinion, or in his advice, it would be foolish for somebody to merely rise in their place and start contributing to a debate that they do not understand. So I think, for me, I would say he exemplified very, very unique brand of leadership. And it's no wonder that at the tail end of the 9th Parliament, we who are in the opposition at that time, President Kenyatta and myself, who were in Kanu, I was a chief whip of the opposition, and President Kenyatta was then leader of official opposition. So at the tail end of the 9th Parliament, we took a decision to cross over and join the president in his re-election bids, and we supported him.
Kumbuka kitambo kazi zilikuwa zinapeanwa kiholela holela. Zinapeanwa kirafiki. Alikuja na mfumo wa kuwa kazi zote ziwekwe kwenye mitandao ama kwenye magazeti, ili wafanyikazi wote wa serikali, wananchi wote wa Kenya wapate haki ya kisawasawa. Isije ikawa tu wenye kujua watu wakubwa kwa serikali ndio wanaweza kufaidika na wale wengine hawawezi kufaidika. Na kwa mara ya kwanza tuliona kuwa watoto wa nchi nzima walikuwa wanapata bahati kuandikwa kazi, na hata kuweka wilaya mbalimbali ilikuwa ni kuhakikisha kuwa nchi hii inabeba watoto wote kwa usawa.
Thing which I thought we should really reminisce is about how he did not have favors Nobody could go to Kibaki and say, I want that plot. Can you sign it for me? Or I need to get that farm, government land or whatever. Something which was happening there before. No, he didn't like that. So, or even in appointments. He did not appoint you because you come from Nyeri or because you're from his family or not. He didn't like it. He just wanted people to be fair. And I remember, like I was saying the other day, I remember a person very close to him had gone to him to say, I need to be on a board, which is under my ministry. And he said to the person, hey, you go talk to the minister himself, you know. And the person had to come and talk to me. So this is a kind of, that person was very close to him. I mean, he could have said, Minister, I want you to do this. No, he didn't do that. So corruption was actually minimized under Kibaki. You could not go to him with information about other people, that kind of thing. So this thing about destroying people, rumors and so on, he did not entertain that.
Interesting thing, when we were releasing universities, was the naming of the universities, because two things I was supposed to be doing before we have the charters out: the name of the university and the name of the chancellor. He trusted me to look for the chancellors. He said, you came from the university, you know the kind of people that should go to the university. Consult the leadership, other ministers, and finish with it. I have no problem. No interference whatsoever. This is an amazing thing about President Kibaki. But one university was very interesting, the Karatina University. So I went to the president and I said, Your Excellency, I have a name for Karatina University. So he said, what name do you have? It's not Karatina? I said, no. He said, what name do you have? I said, I have Mwai Kibaki University. Shock of shocks. The president tells me, he laughed. He looked at me and laughed, and he said, why do you want to change it from Karatina to Mwai Kibaki University? I said, Your Excellency, you are giving Kenya 15 universities. I don't think there will be any other president that will give 15 universities charters at the same time. Your Excellency, we really want your name. He said, now sit down, let me tell you something. As a family, we made a decision long time ago that nothing will be named in my name. I was shocked. I looked at him, he laughed and he said, I know you are shocked, but it is true. It is a family decision. So I'm not going to have my name in anything. And this really is something that touched me to the extent that I am not excited about my name being put in any building. And it just came out of what Kibaki told me. He just told me on the face. I don't know how many people he told that story, but he told me, no, I am not going to be named. So Karatina remained Karatina University. I went back. I had already consulted the college council. So I told them, no, His Excellency, I stand it down, and that is how we are going to do it. It's going to be Karatina.
The governor of Central Bank, Mulei, when Kenya was commemorating the 40 years of independence, he did a coin, a 40-year, to celebrate 40 years of independence, and it became like a 40-shilling coin with the portrait of the Kibaki. And when he was presented with it, you'd have seen his reaction. He was livid. It's like, what are you people doing? Who suggested this kind? Who came up with this kind of crazy idea? And you've never seen that coin. It was, withdrawn. He said, I don't want my portraits in all these things. I don't want my name coming up. And even myself, when I was Minister for Housing, because I did lands and settlement, then housing was added. And the tradition was that every housing estate finished by the National Housing Corporation would be named after the minister who has opened it or spearheaded it. And we had Otiende Estate, Rubia Estate, and I think there's some other Ngeni Estate or something. So there was supposed to be a Kemunya Estate, the one I spearheaded and everything. And I said, before I get this name put there, let me go and consult. And he told me the same thing, surely. why do people want things named after them? Were you doing it to be named after you, or were you doing it for the bigger public? So I took hints and I told them, so just name it extension or something or whatever it is.
We were trying to make him accept the Thika Superhighway to be named after him. And he said, no, nothing shall be named after him. And that, you thought, was his flagship project. He would be very happy to have a road, at least a road, named after him. But he said no. He wanted the name to remain the destination of that road. Does it have a destination? Okay, where is it going? It's going to Thika. That is the name. Yeah, and I remember again, and I think the Minister for Education that time, Senator Kamar, alluded to this one. They wanted to name Karatina University after him. And he said, no, no.
Mr. Speaker, I have been honored to serve my country as a member of this House since 1963.
Kwa hivyo sioni mtu akivunja rekodi yake ama kujaribu kufikia rekodi yake. Nafahamu kuwa awamu 8 za kwanza alikuwa mbunge mpaka akawa mkuu wa kusimamia mambo ya upinzani. Alafu awamu ya 9 ndio akawa rais na awamu ya. Sasa mimi nikifika bungeni alikuwa tayari. Mimi nikiingia na yeye amekuwa rais.
I think the other thing I just want to mention in terms of from cabinet, we used to have our cabinet meetings every Thursday. And from 9 or latest we start 10 o'clock. But by 1 o'clock, it was very clear, you must have finished cabinet. And we kept on saying, why can't we continue to have cabinet? Because you are Bunge. And Bunge starts at 2:30, and you must be in Bunge. The government cannot afford to not be in parliament, because members' questions must be answered by government. And he took that very seriously, and every time you told him anything, he told you, parliament first. You are elected by the people to represent them. We have put you there as a minister, and you are answerable to parliament. So you have no excuse for not being in parliament. And even most of the trips will be cancelled because there's a matter in parliament. So he respected the work of parliament and encouraged most of us to respect. And that's why you find me, you know, given any choice, I would prefer to be in parliament.
He knew this parliament, and he knew the standing orders, and he was a great debater. He would speak, he could speak for a long time on subjects that he knew that he could speak on. And that is, I think, what helped him to stay for 50 years in parliament.
He said quite famously that even as he was exiting the scene, that he would not miss State House as much as he would miss the lively debates in parliament.
The post-election violence that burst, it was a crisis in the hands of the new president.
He was magnanimous in, like, let's not fight over these things. What is power? All right?
He then opened the door for a negotiated settlement with the former prime minister, and created the position of prime minister, created extra ministries just to accommodate.
And generally, even talking to us, some of us who are like hardliners and saying, Pana, now we have got a Katiba. We have agreed we are working together with our competitors. We are now in a grand coalition agreement. So one thing, you must respect the Prime Minister.
I therefore call upon all Kenyans to vote wisely for the men and women who will sit in this House next year. Let us vote for leaders who put the interests of the people first and who are hardworking and visionary. For the first time in nearly 50 years, I will not be on any election ballot paper.
Lakini tunavyosoma kumbukumbu za bunge tunaona kuwa alikuwa ni mbunge ambaye alijua maana ya kutengeneza sheria za kuwafaa wananchi.
I think the greatest lesson is one, to understand the role of a member of parliament. Prince Kibaki understood that extremely well.
Subra na utulivu ni jambo la muhimu. Hungempata Rais Kibaki pale popote akipiganisha watu. Alikuwa anaomba kura zake, kama ninavyosema, alikuwa ni mchache kwa maneno, mwingi wa vitendo.
He didn't listen to incitements.
I'll remember him for the patience that he had, the focus that he had. He could tell you something, he remains focused, he will remind you the same thing if it has not been done. In that, with that precision, I'll remember him for being a trusting president, somebody who will trust you and allow you to do things. I was able to do a lot in that ministry because of the fact that he trusted. Whenever we asked for, I remember him for his generosity to the Ministry of Higher Education. He was very generous. We had a lot of equipment funding. We had the universities were equipped. The universities were very highly funded in his time, and he was very generous. He listened. If he believed in something, he would go for it. So I learned even a lot myself out of what he was, how he approached his administration and how he managed things.
I mean, it's work over 10 years. There's a story almost every day. So we could stay here for like the next 10 years, going through all that. But by and large, I think it's courtesy of his humility, courtesy of his leadership style, courtesy of his non-controversial style, that we were able to, and him going for professionals. Because he also believed there is no value added by going for people who know exactly what you know. People who think like you. They will not add any value to you. So you look for people who are different from you.
So that is Emilio Stanley Mwai Kibaki, the third president of the Republic of Kenya, who now we have to go and bury, lay to rest.
Si tu kutoa rambirambi zangu, bali kumwombea baba yetu huyo, Mwenyezi Mungu amweke pahali pema peponi.
Anyway, there rests the man. We can only say, may God rest his soul in eternal peace and perpetual light shine on him.